having me here. Can you see my? Nice.
Yeah,
Can you see
looks
my
good.
screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, and basically, when we heard about the Open Science Year and that NASA was the initiative that NASA have, so we quickly started thinking how can we contribute to the community. Since what we have been doing lately was related to Jupyter Hub and Jupyter Lab. So we decided to start creating some Jupyter Lab extensions that we can share with the community. So I'm Ramon Ramirez. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Navteca. I also work for the Science Managed Cloud Environment under Dan Duffy on NASA Goddard. And my business partner told me if I don't have this slide here, she's gonna kick me out of the company. So this is what we do at Navteca. We focus on HPC in the cloud, AI, machine learning with specialization on natural language processing. And then we also have we have a product that is related to natural language processing. Okay, this is the important thing. So today, originally the focus was going to be on BExplorer, and that's going to be the main part of what I want to show, that extension. But I also want to mention other extensions, and if the audience is interested in, I can also demo them. So BExplorer basically is an extension that let you interact with data and data sets on cloud storage like S3 or Microsoft Blob and Google Buckets too. And we started creating that extension to solve some of the issues that we're having on the IBM S3 Explorer and Bucket Explorer. And we started first forking that repository, but then we realized that we needed too many new features and decided to create one from scratch. Then I'm also gonna talk a little bit, or maybe show a little bit of Pastorella, which is an extension that deploys an API. It's a server-side extension, and it deploys an API in your Jupyter Hub installation, and that API can be used by any external application to launch notebooks with a specific code that you pass, a specific Python code that you pass in the extension. And then we have two other extensions that are in proof of concept, but I really like them. And this one that is API Baker, there's somebody at NASA GMAO that have been doing a proof of concept to distribute an air quality model that they have built. So basically, API Baker allow you to turn any notebook, Python code in any notebook into an endpoint, an API endpoint. And then we have Codex Lab, which is more like an experiment proof of concept, where we basically have integrated the capabilities of Copilot, GitHub Copilot into Notebook. Basically, you can put comments and it will create code for you, or you can do autocomplete and things like that. Anyway, I'll show you. And then at the end, I have my contact information, and I forgot to put the contact information for the lead engineer. And Frank, I apologize for that. Maybe you can type that in the chat. So anyway, I want to go straight to the demonstration of this. Okay, so this is one of the Jupyter Lab that we have deployed, Jupyter Hubs. You see here two extensions, the traditional, the one that we have been using until now, which is the IBM Bucket Explorer open source extension. And this is the new one that we have, the BExplorer. Okay, so.
Ramon, I'm sorry, I think you're not sharing your screen right now.
Oh, I don't share my screen?
I don't think so.
Am I sharing my screen?
No.
I can't see it.
No, it disappeared.
You were recently.
Okay, so I don't know what happened, but maybe when I switch, how about now?
Yes.
Yeah. And then
Can
go
you?
to present
Okay, perfect.
mode. Yeah.
Okay, can you see? You can see the Jupyter Lab, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is thank you, Franz. This is the Bucket Explorer that we are using in the Earth Information System and other Jupyter Hub deployments that we did for NASA. And it was you know, I think it started with being very useful and all that, but then quickly we realized that we were having some limitations and some things that were making the customers a little bit confused. So for instance, in this extension, you see all of the buckets that your account that they are in your account, even if you don't have access to them, right? So that was one of the main complaints. So we created then the B Explorer, where basically you only see the bucket that you have access to, and in this case, I only have access to those buckets, and that's the only thing I can do. There is 3 tabs. One that is for private buckets, which basically I have access through my AWS account. I have public buckets, which is actually, this is pretty cool, is as most of you know, AWS, Google, and Microsoft have a bunch of public repositories. So you can access them through here. And the cool thing is you can even access the metadata that they have. And right now we only support AWS, but we're working on Microsoft and Google. And then you have favorites, which is basically if there is a bucket that you work more often with, so you can just add it to favorites. Right now, it's only allow you to add the bucket name, but in the future it's going to allow you to add also folders within buckets. Also in favorites, you can add buckets that are not in your account. So buckets that are public but are not part of the public data set from one of the cloud providers, or buckets that are actually cross account, which is very typical. Maybe there's a bucket from Eostis, NASA Eostis that you have access to. So you could add it here, and that way it would show you here and it would show you in the favorites. Now, sorry. And actually, let me go to the public one. So for instance, let me see if I can find a file that is not gonna take a long time to this one. So I can download the files, downloads, EFS, no, EFS. That's gonna work. The good thing is it also have and I don't know why it's not working now, but oh, here it is. So it has a list of files, download history, but also the files that are currently being downloaded, because sometimes you are downloading a large file, so you want to make sure that to know the status. We download the files in the background, so it doesn't interact with it doesn't freeze your extension. It doesn't freeze the Jupyter Lab interface, I mean. So now, one thing that we had noticed that we still had to fix is that if you try to download, I don't know, like a 5 gigabit file, we're using Boto under the hook. And even if you do it with the Boto command, with the Boto with Python, with the AWS CLI, what we had noticed is the file explorer from Jupyter Lab, it will freeze, you know, for a while. So that's something that we're trying to talk to. We're trying to open an issue on Jupyter Hub to see if that's part of the problem or it's something that we need to figure out a different approach. So I think that's basically it for this extension. But I went fast on purpose because I also want to show another extension that we have been building on. This extension, by the way, today is being open source. So Frank's gonna paste the link to the repo and everybody can fork and contribute or whatever. We also have another extension that is called Passerella, which basically is what I was saying before. It's an API that gets deployed in your Jupyter Hub, and it allows you to open a notebook, and you can pass a specific Python code or whatever code in base 64 encoded, and it will get open. The notebook will get open with that cell pre-populated with this code. So in fact, I think I have an example here. For instance, this is an external web application, a simple website, and that has multiple notebooks. And I can open that notebook, and it should open a new notebook with the content already filled. And you can open full notebooks, or you can open. So you can basically pass to the API a whole notebook file, or you can just pass the code that you want to be running on, not running, that you want on the cell, and it will open the notebook with that code. So that's Passarella. We're also making that open source today, and for anybody to test. The other extension that we have is actually this one I really like. This one, okay. Let me do a new demo. So we have this proof of concept where basically we want to provide this the notebook interface, the capabilities that you get with Copilot, GitHub Copilot, which is basically you can do things like, for instance, you can create, you open a cell in Markdown, and then you specify what you want to do, create a function that convert from netcdf to cloud optimized GeoTIFF and return that. So now we go to code competition. We are using the OpenAI Codex machine learning model, and the API is still in testing mode, so it's very slow. Something that we have noticed that is still slow. Hopefully, once they make it available, it will be faster. But as you can see here, it creates the code for you. We had limited the number of tokens that returns, because again, it's in testing mode, so we don't have a lot of capability with the API yet. But as you can see, it basically provides the same functionality that GitHub Copilot. And from here, for instance, you could do things like, I was mentioning that we also have a Jupyter Lab extension that is a proof of concept that somebody at NASA GMO is using, but still a proof of concept. But the goal would be that, for instance, if you have a function like this, you could go say bake API, okay? And then you can turn this netcdf to GeoTIFF into an API. When it's finished baking, I'm not gonna do it now because it takes 10 minutes. When it finished baking, it creates all the infrastructure with an endpoint that it returns to you. And then that endpoint is accessible from the Jupyter Hub deployment in a way that anybody in the platform can be using that endpoint to do whatever task, right? In this case, we will, instead of having to write your own netcdf to GeoTIFF function, you could use an API call. And in fact, later on, you can go to the API collections and you see all of the APIs that are available on this Jupyter Hub deployment. So was that too fast, too slow? I think that's it.
All right. Thanks very much, Ramon.
No problem.
Yeah. So